Our environment is full of pollutants, microplastics, and mineral salts that shouldn't be there, along with chemicals. And we consume and drink all of these things every single day. A device like this is actually very good for thoroughly filtering these harmful pollutants out of the water, reducing them to zero so that we can always drink purified, healthy, and fresh water. The question is it really worth the amount of money it costs? In this video, you're going to get an answer to that. Last week, I also tested a Jimmy machine. That test turned out a bit negative. This one, however, will be positive because I have absolutely no problems with this machine. It works perfectly. It does everything they promise. But what does this mean in reality? Well, in my previous water purifier test, a kind YouTube commenter noted that no one should buy this because it's expensive junk and there are better solutions. For example, there are water filters that can be built into the water network. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the two things? Well, built-in water filtration is clearly much cheaper, but this is much more efficient. What is the disadvantage of the two things? Well, this is a bit wasteful and that one isn't as efficient. So you choose which of the two is right for you. Let's stick with this device and start with what it means that this machine is wasteful. Well, it means that these devices that work with a membrane wastewater, with worse devices, older solutions, it happened that for 1 liter of purified water, 5 liters of wastewater were produced. So we can't call that very water efficient. Today's devices are much better than that. This machine, for example, works exactly the opposite way. You put 5 liters of water, tap water, into this tank, and from this, you can get 4 liters of purified water, so roughly 1 liter of dirty wastewater remains, which you have to pour out. So this isn't such a bad solution anymore. How does this whole thing work? Well, it works like this. There are filter cartridges in the top, which, well, from microfilter filtration to activated carbon, there are 3 layers. The water flows through these cartridges, and these cartridges filter out all the substances that don't belong there. And the filtration happens so that the clean water goes into the tank, while the machine pushes the contamination back into this part. That's why we have to pour out the last liter and refill it with completely fresh water. The interesting thing about this machine is that it has no internal tank, no buffer tank where it holds the water. This pitcher that's inside here, this 1 liter pitcher, is also the buffer tank, which looks like this. We get 2 of these pitchers with it, which is great because in summer, for example, we can fill the first pitcher with water, put it in the fridge, and put the other one in here. This refills with purified water and we can always swap it out. Also, if this pitcher is in the machine and it's full of water, then we can make hot water instantly, for example, to brew tea. So these are really great things in cases like this. While talking, I've also mentioned a lot of technical specifications about the machine. One thing I maybe haven't mentioned yet is that it has a 2200 watt heating element inside. Also, I didn't mention that the lifespan of the filters, according to the manufacturer, is 1 or 2 years, depending on the type. We have 2 cartridges that are suitable for purifying 1800 liters of water, and the third one is suitable for purifying 3600 liters of water. So these can be used for about a year, or, well, depending on how much water you drink from it, even longer. The machine itself isn't cheap, by the way, and, well, the filters for it aren't cheap either, which practically means that the base machine itself costs about 130,000 forints, and the price with the filters is between about 170 and 180,000 forints. And here, of course, comes the question of whether we need this, if there's a need for it. Well, in Hungary, they usually say that the drinking water is relatively clean. However, on this machine, for example, there's a TDS meter, which means that it shows how dirty the water we pour in is and what the water coming out of it is like. We can see this value on the display. For us, the purity of the water is 660 TDS, and 8 TDS is what ends up in here, so it does take something out of it. So the point is that as a water purifier, this device probably works really well. And what's really good about it is that it doesn't give distilled water. It doesn't give some very tasteless thing, but by resalting, it replenishes the minerals in the water. So then what comes out of it will be a relatively good tasting, slightly silkier tasting water. As I said in the previous water purifier test, you have to get used to this, but that doesn't mean the water is bad or terrible or undrinkable. You just simply have to get used to it, since tap water can have all sorts of aftertastes. This has much less than that. I'll tell you honestly, I don't actually even like this part of it the most, but what I like about it is that, you see, it has a heating element inside, and this heating element, it allows us to simply get a flow-through heating system. So if I put a cup down here on the tray, I select the temperature, which, by the way, can be from 45 to 98 Celsius. I select the amount of water I want to pour into the cup, and I get the hot water I selected, and I actually get that hot water. So there's no transition time here. It's not like cold water comes at first and then it slowly warms up. Indeed, hot water comes from the very first moment, which is really great because you can, for example, make tea with it. By the way, this device isn't just good for this. It's not just good for making tea with it, because it's also really good to pour this into coffee makers. Our water is quite hard, and I constantly have to clean the water tank of the coffee maker. Since I've been using this purified water, I haven't had to clean it because there's no limescale. And the fact that there's no limescale is just one of the good things, because besides that, my coffee tastes better and it's as if the creamer is a bit thicker on it too. So this water definitely has its own positive effects. As you can see, the tea is ready, and when the tea is done, it nicely refills the water from this tank into the clean water tank. So we'll always have an adequate amount of water here. As you can hear, by the way, the machine has a bit of background noise while it's running when it's purifying the water, but it's not terrible, not unbearable, not annoying. Actually, there's nothing wrong with it. And well, when it's not purifying water, it's completely silent. Regarding the display, what I still want to say is that besides the temperature and water volume, as I mentioned, we have TDS values on it, incoming and outgoing. There's a temperature indicator showing how many degrees the water coming out is, and we have 3 indicators here showing the condition of the filters. This obviously also indicates when the filters need to be replaced. So everything we need for use is right here on this display. I've already talked about the price of the machine. Well, as I say, it's not cheap. So actually nowadays I think this is still a bit of a luxury, but it's definitely much more efficient and much more usable than a simple pitcher water filter that people still use today. It's considerably more efficient than an inline water filter, but it really isn't cheap now. So if you want clean, safe water for example, making baby food, preparing tea, brewing coffee, or simply for drinking, then it's definitely worth buying a machine like this. If the water quality at your place is poor, very chlorinated, has a lot of minerals in it, and everything gets very scaled up from it, it's still worth getting a machine like this, as these problems can also be solved with it. By the way, I have no problems with the machine. It's absolute premium category. So if you need a water purifier, you can safely buy it. The model is Jimmy R9. That's what you should look for in stores. Of course, I'll put the link where you can buy it under the video. If there's a coupon code for it, I'll put that there too. If you like this video, then choose from the other 2 videos appearing next to me. Subscribe to the channel and come back next week too, because I'll be back with more tests and demonstrations. Until then, be good, take care of yourselves, and bye everyone.